Fear is back in the markets. Panic seems like setting in. But are we being rugged here? What's the reality? You do look at the news, you look at the narrative and understand what's happening, because this is one of the biggest bloodbath in the stock market side of the equation. And that has pushed fear across the spectrum, whether it's crypto, whether it's stock market, you're watching this. But how many of you are not surprised? Because maybe 2 weeks back, we dropped this 15th of August, saying, yeah, Ether should go higher and then it should come back down. We followed it up with the macro and micro, where we were arguing that it should actually push lower. Say, look at XRP. There was an idea that this is coming back down and your support level is here. If you do look at that, whether it's through the charts, whether it's through the comments, we were kind of arguing, yeah, we're going through that range. Slowly, we are getting there. And right now, the price is slowly pushing further low. It is now showing you this. XRP is arguing that it's an ABC move, which would most likely bring the next impulsive move. Now, on the Bitcoin side of the equation, we looked through all these supports, saying, yeah, if we break this range, this is what we are watching. And right now, that becomes important to look at the macro as well, which means, remember, when Bitcoin was at 60K and XRP came to 0.6, I was saying, okay, that looks like a good correlation, but that means if XRP is to go to 0.49, guess what? Which direction would Bitcoin come? Yeah, we already touched that point once. That means a revisit there will not be a surprise. But how would this really affect this bull market? What would the long-term outlook be from that point? Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. If you're alerted at the right time about what's the most likely outcome in the market, this is what you were already prepared for. We already argued, say, in the last video, pushing the idea that, guys, watch. XRP may look like this. That resistance pushing the price down for XRP means we may actually come back down. And that panic drop to the downside kind of resonates with the past. Around 5 minutes, 20 seconds in the last video, the most recent video, we gave you the thought process of what would happen if we do follow that. What should be the support levels and all. If you haven't looked at that video yet, I would argue watch last 2-3 videos. It's going to actually give you the right perspective. During times like this in the market, getting a little bit more clarity in a shorter duration helps a lot. So let's clearly look at what the market is showing you and it's not showing you. 1. These levels say remove all the volatility. Put in a line chart. This makes it so easy to locate the bottom and to understand whether we are breaking through that support. As of now, this is a 3-day chart. So it shows you a macro perspective, and when you're zoomed in, it gives you macro on a short term. This helps a lot. So yes, your momentum to the downside is slowly starting to accelerate, which means the next bounce, you're not looking at this level of 64, you're only watching 62, say 61, 150. It's going to be the level you should be eyeing at. Now, what if we break this territory? That means your measured move here is going to be around 18% to the downside if you do break that. Say if we plot that in Bitcoin terms, that 18% to the downside means $46,000. We drop to that level. Now, let's look at all sides of this equation. That's when we only look at last 2-3 months. What if we try to get the higher odd scenario, which means long-term move? That means, yes, the price can still drop, but it may not go down to 46. Rather, it would slow down around 49. This is going to be the trend line support for Bitcoin, which means on the same equation, if you take in XRP, it is also traveling in a similar channel, but just it's doing that for a longer horizon. So you pick up XRP and you're plotting this trend line. We talked about this trend line and we talked about the key fact that if we get rejected here again, the downside can accelerate. So right now we're trying to push lower, and this bottom, if Bitcoin goes to 49, may not actually stop close to 0.49. Let's put that horizontal line clearly so it's easy. Yeah, 0.49 is the first support and then it comes to 0.4. So if you're zooming out on a macro, now you're like, okay, the medium term, I understand that, and you plot the macro trend lines on that. This shows you the higher odd scenario is most likely going to be here, where you have long-term resistance and support levels active. That means orders or supply demand equation should match up in here, which is 0.49 to 0.5 in XRP terms. But say you go on to the Ether, what should you be watching for? This rectangular pattern shows you a continuation move if it breaks to the downside, which means you're watching $2,000 or lower. But if you do open up the charts on a daily and look for what we are watching, say the price is almost coming back to where we are or where we were before. So you put it in a line chart and you see this. However, the RSI does not agree. The strength is not dropping that far. So you then back down. Okay, you go on to a 3-day chart, higher time frame structure. It shows you the price is trending lower. You are consistently making lower lows. But here, the RSI does not agree with that. That usually shows the bottom is near, or most likely with this dip, you are about to reverse. So the macro aligns well in Ether, in Bitcoin, and in XRP, and a lot of other assets right now. So what kind of a game plan do you have? Say you take in a weekly chart for all of these assets one by one. Say you take in the weekly for XRP first. Now you're watching that, okay, that can be an ABC leg, which can complete the wave 1, the micro. Then we may start the wave 2 if that price action is bouncing off from this trend line. So that trend line is starting all the way from 2022 June till this point. And if you get a bounce off from 0.49, 0.47 range, that means you're still playing out that range. You're very much active in that zone. But always remember, the macro to short term would look entirely different. Say you go on an hourly chart. What are you looking at? The price is dropping. And especially when you look at Bitcoin, at these points of time where the economy is like this and the news in the stock market shapes the crypto, Bitcoin kind of moves with it. So you're in a channel which we watched. Right now you've wicked to the downside, but you're slowly trying to come back into it. What does that mean for a 4-hour chart? You go back and you're looking at, okay, what was the support range, which the price action respected last time. So this key range here, which you're watching in front of you, if we extend that, it has been acting as a support region, but multiple times you've wicked below that region. So you saw this kind of a reversal. You saw this kind of a reversal. Both of them gives you one thing, higher lows. So what are you watching for? On a short term, for you to see the prices reversing, you're watching for a double bottom structure, which can be like this. It may not be the textbook double bottom. It can be a higher low. Now we are looking at the divergence as well. The price is going down. However, the RSI is trending up. So the short term says buyers are entering more and they think the price is right to buy into this asset. So that's where you come on a daily. Do you see the same narrative playing out? So you plot your trend lines now not on a 4 hour but on a daily. So Bitcoin daily gives you this. Yeah, it kind of works. Now you go on a 3 day. You want to see, is it still valid on a higher time frame structure? This is where you plot your trend line. And this trend line kind of gives you a clear argument you're still on that wedge. So unless you break through this region, which we were arguing, we are still bullish. If you don't break through this, it's positive. So for a lot of these assets, we've been going through breaking it down in the SI family. So if you are interested in a lot of these assets, or if you have a lot of these crypto assets, then this would be the right place to look for all of those assets. Are they showing you a macro break or a micro move to the downside? Are they showing you an opportunity zone coming in, or are they showing you a red flag? If you want to follow the SI family, use the link in the description below and jump into it. Now, getting back into the matter, keep this simple. While you hold this trend line and maintain the bullish divergence, it is okay. So you are on a medium term to long term chart where you are watching the fact that the price is here down for sure. A break or an invalidation of this would push the price lower, agreed. But then you also understand the fact that on a weekly, now yes, this is just Wednesday, you will have to wait for another 3 days to see which direction we goes. But on a weekly chart, Bitcoin is arguing it had a huge wick here on early August, right? A weekly candle. Now it's trying to form an inverse hammer. And this is all happening at a support. We reached this territory 29th April. We reached that territory July. We are now in that territory. So it's trying to make a support. But what's the trouble? You're not putting in a higher low. So any bounce here getting again rejected here close to 62 may push the price down. If the buyers are not stepping in to break this to the upside, we may go down. But what does the monthly show? Monthly chart still argues there's enormous liquidity to the downside. Whenever you're going down, you are getting that liquidity. Price is being pushed back up. So that's good. That's a positive news. You're finding buyers on the macro. Yes, on a micro, when the price drops, the fear, the panic, everything jumps into this equation. So you're not looking at that. You understand that. You're watching how it's playing out, but you're not focused on that. Rather, you are looking at a macro picture. Now, on that macro picture, understand Bitcoin moves the market. If Bitcoin is about to break this support, altcoins would kind of shit in their pants. So that's not what we want. But we'll watch what they're doing. Because especially we argued the fact that ETH is developing a bullish divergence. But where will that be confirmed? Where will this leg end? No one knows. Most likely event is here at this support, which is close to 2150. Say $2,100 is going to be a key range. Now, that also makes a lot of sense when you're on a macro chart for Ether. You plot this and you say, close to that range is our macro support line. Price bouncing off from that point would make a lot more sense because it bounced off back in July 2022, then Jan 2023, then November 2023. And if we do this, that's going to be a repeat of the history. You bounce off and you bounce off with higher momentum. But the trouble is, right now, it does not look like we're doing that on a micro until you step back onto a macro chart. So supports on a macro is much more credible than the supports or patterns developing on a micro. So when you see a micro chart, understand that's narrative which you should be watching for on a shorter horizon. If that narrative does not work out, don't shout. Look at the macro. Is it going towards the macro direction? If yes, follow the micro only when it aligns with the macro direction. Let me be clear. Macro direction, micro direction. On a macro chart, if you're seeing you're going to the upside, join the party when the micro says I'm going to the upside. Not all assets would show that at the right time. That's one of the reasons why to get close in that timing range, not accurate, spot on, but close to that event, you can get it in the SI family. You jump in and you do the one-on-one session. You go through your portfolio and understand whether you are at the right time and the right assets. So guys, if you received value, smash that like button for me. I'll meet you guys on next video. Bye for now.